show. It's an honor. I was desperately looking forward to meeting you, and learn more about your career. I'm so speechless about your amazing job you've
You.
done, not only for short films, but also the wonderful Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And
Yeah.
you know what? I consider I'm part of your family because most of the cast and most people from the crew also were also in my show. And what can I say? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey family. That's what I call. How you been today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I was at archery this morning, so I'm all sore from that. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, it is like a little family. Like I'm sure you learned from Amber and Craig, but it's like the
Yes.
filmmaker were quite tight knit because of like it was short, it was very intense. So we all just became a little family. And then when I got to see them all in Glasgow, it was just like, oh, old friends, it's lovely.
Yes, yes, and and I found you when I saw the photo with Natasha Rosmills. She's one of my best friends, and I was lovely ladies, and I have to contact her. Yes, and she said yes, go ahead. No, she's wonderful, wonderful lady. And okay, from Houston, you moved to London. Let's For those people that are learning about you, you very young age. You starting from the grounds like a assistant producer and then assistant director, working in short films, and also you're currently working for Ardale Films in London. But before that, how you make the decision from Houston go to London? Why London?
Well, yeah, so I get asked this quite a lot. So I studied university here in London. I did like a international baccalaureate, so that in high school, so that meant I could study anywhere in the world. So of course I was like, I'm half English, so I was like, okay, might as well go to London. It's a great city to be in as a student. So I came here and I studied at Middlesex University. I did my BA in film, and kind of from there I stayed here to keep working. So yeah, that's kind of been me. I'm still here. So yeah.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
you have a background, your bachelor's degree in films. That's what it just says,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay. And what is your specialization? Do you specialize like as a director, or what is
Produ-
your specialization?
yeah. My specialization was in production.
Okay.
So everything to do, for those unfamiliar with how film works, all the business side of film. So that's anywhere from pre-production, like production management, marketing, just kind of the overseer of beginning to end of any film. So yeah, that's what I got into. And then from that's how I kind of got into assistant directing, because it's kind of like a deceptive role name. Because although yes, you are assisting the director, you're doing a lot of more production heavy tasks, i.e. scheduling, risk management stuff. So you're more really like an assistant producer. Um, but you are like assisting the director and keeping the flow on set, as well as the actors. So yeah, that's how I got into that. And then I've just always kind of flitted back and forth between being a production manager, assistant producing, or assistant directing. So yeah.
Okay, question to you, because the purpose of this show is for inspirational purposes and also to inspire those people that are in college or they want to be, you know, no matter what field they want to reach, for example, in this case, we are concentrate for in the independent industry, specifically films. Can you tell us what is your experience, or what is the difference, or you feel that big difference between theoretical concentration as a student, you had your bachelor's degree and all these things, and then real life, put your hands on it. Can you tell us how you
Oh
feel between
yeah,
the two? Or you can say it's totally different. In reality, the
yeah.
experience has to be hands on.
I mean, okay, in some ways, because like the specialization when I did at uni, it was kind of weird. So like those who specialize in editing got to do specialist editing classes based off software and things like that. For directors, they did directors workshops working with actors. For producers, they were like, we don't really know what to do with you. It's like there's only so much we can teach you. A lot of what you will learn will be from your practical hands-on experience. So in kind of maybe the academic context, there just is very little academic context existing for producers. Oh, at least when I did my degree, maybe it's like different now. I see that like I did it 3 years ago. I graduated last year. And but kind of in the hands-on aspect, it is pretty much the same. The only difference is scale. Like I produced three projects at university, a short film called Wilderness, short film called Venu, and my thesis film, which was From Beneath. And as the like sole producer for all of those, it was so intensive. It actually prepared me really well for the industry, that when I got to the industry, I knew, okay, yeah, maybe this is a bigger production, significantly bigger budget, etc. Everything else transferred, so it was quite easy. Is the wrong word. Easy is definitely the wrong word, but it wasn't that hard to transfer kind of like the skills from like the small scale to like the mid scale, which is like what I've worked at. So
I
yeah.
see. And then, for example, so
Yeah.
it means that when Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, because you just mentioned everywhere, is that one of the the top famous films at this moment. You were a student back in the day, and then
Yeah.
your theoretical practice. You put your hands on it. How you feeling that your name is as assistant director, as like a producer, assistant producer, and
Is this a
one of the
director
one
actually? Like,
yes one of the top feature films, oral fiction films nowadays. How you feeling about that?
it's very weird. It was very surreal because the commercial success of it was completely unexpected. It originally had a much smaller distribution deal, straight to DVD, in America, and then the reason it went viral was because I think it was like IndieWire or IGN, like just saw on IMDb that a Winnie the Pooh Bud and Honey was coming out in 2023, and then wrote an article just with like the few stills that were already on IMDb, and then it completely blew. It was literally an overnight sensation. I thought people were making that up when they said, "Oh, yeah, it was an overnight sensation." It genuinely was. It was like by like 8 p.m. day one, it was like okay, one or two articles, and then like by the next day, I had at least like 100 messages in that group chat, and it just completely changed. So yeah, it was kind of a very surreal experience because a lot of my friends knew I'd gone to work on a Winnie the Pooh horror film, because I was actually still a student at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot. So they had heard about me just talking about it in passing. So I had people sending me articles. I had my family sending me articles, and they're like, "Is this what you worked on?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then, fast forward several monthts later, being able to see like my name on the like credits in a theater, like at the Glasgow Fright Fest,
Yes.
surreal. It was genuinely like, I, not to use this word lightly, but it was life changing. Like my boyfriend was with me, and I was just like crying. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, and now it's like a running joke. Like my flatmate goes to parties, is like, yeah, I lived with someone who worked on that, or it's just always like a bit of an icebreaker. So yeah.
Fantastic. No, and not only that, I just remember the reaction, people's reactions before the trailer about the
Yeah.
people's expectations. A lot of what are your expectation for this film was mentioned. I would say no more than 1,000 um,
Yeah.
sites and press. And yeah, I speak, for example, Mexico, because also I'm from Mexico, in seeing the newspapers and the news press everywhere in Spanish, also in Portuguese and Brazil, everywhere the film was mentioning. And then when the trailer was come up, I was tracking because I remember when they released the trailer, because I was and I'm continue follow up a lot with Waterfield, the director. In less than 2 hours, they reach million views.
Oh my god, I didn't even
Yes,
know that.
yes,
So
yes.
hard to track.
Yes, I was impressed, and I was not only in just in 2 hours, and duplicate, replicate, duplicate, duplicate, and then also in Spanish when they made the translation, same thing, hits up millions and millions, and and it was beautiful when I watched the premiere. When I saw the videos in premiere, because I didn't go to Mexico City. Um, but I was in communication with Natasha because I I do interviews with her very frequently, not only as an actress but also for the mindfulness. Um, and I was just seeing the photos and all these things. The people reaction was wonderful, with the wearing the cosplay or the Winnie the Pooh and those kind of
Yes.
things. Yes, yes. So how you feeling to see that? Like you said, you are part of the to 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 make this possible, to make this film possible. It was you part of it. So how you feeling to see that everywhere, because your name is everywhere? How you feeling about that?
It's really, really weird. Like I still haven't quite like gone over it. Like I remember even at Glasgow, like watching it and I was like telling my boyfriend, like, oh yeah, yeah, this scene is like all the little secrets. And there was a couple behind me. And like before the film started, they were like, wait, did you, because the way I was talking, they were like, wait, did you work on it? I was like, yeah, it was the first AD. So now people like, I'm not getting recognized on the street, don't get me wrong, but it is like, it's just surreal. That is the only word I can think of it. But it's also really nice to see that there's been such like a fan creating reaction. Like the fact that people are going out of their way to like create cosplay. Yes, cosplays, and there's collector's editions. And I even remember Glasgow, somebody was wanting like Natasha's signature. I was like, it's just really nice. Because, like, you see Star Wars fans, you see Harry Potter fans, you see all that, or maybe you've even been one of those. But then to see that effect back onto something that you've worked on, it's wow.
No,
It's
I'm
amazing.
pretty sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure Winnie the Pooh is gonna be like a dust movie, like a Jason, like a Freddy Cougar. The first one is
Yeah,
the first one. The people who were involved is the first one, and I'm looking forward to watch for the sequel, part two, Winnie the Pooh. But the first one is the first one. So,
yeah,
so can you imagine you keep be part of the legacy of the Winnie the Pooh? Because I was telling Craig, I was the honor to interview Craig. Dan's a beautiful man, and previously Seb Cox and Amber doing Throne, wonderful people. And I told them, can you imagine? Just keep in mind, because I was born in 1981, and I remember Freddy Cougar, Jason, and all these films. And then I would say like at the last one, they put all these characters together was in the early 2000, and there was no more films like this one. And down to you guys come up with this fantastic project. So
yeah,
this is the new generation, the teenagers and young people, not only young people, but even people like me, older than me, will how we getting back to the like an old style. So, and your name is there.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. But I was like thinking, especially when I watched it, it's quite campy. Like it's self-aware and it's a little bit ridiculous. Like, come on, it's Winnie the Pooh, but it is self-aware about it. And when I watched, I knew instantly. I'm like, this is like a cult film. This is going to
Yes.
be like Rocky Horror film that which I'm a massive fan of. That's going to be like, okay, yeah, maybe it had some questionable criticism when it first came out, but it's just kind of like fine wine. It will just get age and get better. So yeah, and I definitely think it's going to be a legacy. And I know Reese and Scott are already planning a sequel. I think it's already like put on IMDb, but like it's not gone into production yet, from what I know. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree. It has a lot of those elements of these like campy classic horror 80s films. So yeah, and it's great to see stuff like that come out nowadays, because problem is like a lot of, well, it's not necessarily a problem, it's just a thing that happened as horror films, like thinking late 90s and early 2000s, we started switching more towards the psychological horror, i.e. Blair Witch Project or like Duvavitch, or any other like just modern horror films, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
have the kind of fun element that they did in the 80s, and I think this kind of brings it back a bit. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's fantastic, fantastic. There was a book, but not only like Latin America, but also in Europe, United States, like Asia, everywhere. And this is just, I was telling Greg the same thing I'm telling you, and I'm telling the rest. especially Greg and you, because you were the first ones. He was his first feature film as a leading actor, and then your first feature film as a part of the administration and the production.
Mm.
This is just the beginning of the so many doors, and I
Yeah.
can see you very big, And congratulations! I'm very, very proud that I'm making this interview with you. In the very
Oh,
near future, I will say Hunter Clint. She was in my show, and she is part of the family. You. What can I say? I love you so much, and I
no.
love what you're doing. Congratulations, and you're amazing because I was reading all your multitask skills. Even you do photography, right? Besides
Yeah.
the directing and production and photography, and that's another skills that you have. But let's talk about the short films that you participate as a production assistant, The Last Union and The Dark True. How about your experience working on those short films?
Yeah.
Let's go to The
Um,
Last Union. Mm-hmm.
yeah, The Last Union was fantastic. I don't know if you saw on IMDb. It went to Cannes. So it was part of the 48-hour London
Mm-hmm.
film project, film challenge, and that was actually my introduction to the company that I work for now, which is Ardale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was like my second, maybe, okay, it was my second short film set. It was my third like set outside of a university context ever. My first was a music video, so I'm like half counting it. Um, and it just like it was the biggest set I had been on at the time. Like the DOP Rick completely amazed me. I was like, I've never met anyone like him before. I was just so taken aback by the professionalism of the team and the ability to pull together something so fantastic within 48 hours. So though I played quite a small role in that, but I kind of like my foot into the door was with like the BTS photography I did
Mm-hmm.
because of course these things are made on like quite a tight budget. There's like sponsors for equipment and stuff, so then that stills photography was then plastered everywhere because of all the sponsors for kits. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Then it won 48-hour sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
No, not sci-fi. I'll get to that later. Um, it won the challenge. It went to Filmapalooza in DC, and then it went to the Cannes Short Film Corner. So kind of just like quite early on in my career, when I was like still like a second year student, to have
Wow.
Cannes on my CV, I was like, okay, this is pretty nice. And so, of course, an excellent impression was like formed with Ardale, and that's why, like, when they asked me to come work on their sci-fi 48 film, which was Crowd, or I think it's The Crowd.
Crowd. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they I was more than happy to. And then from that, they asked me to come onto the company like permanently. So that's why I've been
Awesome.
like, Liam and Aaron. We've got some exciting things on the way. So yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Do you have any plans to write scripts, or you want to just concentrate in as a director and producer? Do you have?
Yeah. I'm not so much of a writer. I have ideas, but I'm not really confident in my script writing. But
You're
I've
like me. You're like
done
me.
I have ideas, I just need someone to make them good. um, but a lot of the stuff has been quite practical production, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident, and I want to try directing a bit more, and not in the assistant directing role, like as actual director. Um, so we have a couple of scripts like that we're playing with at Ardale that I'm hoping to slide in as a director for. So yeah, that's probably like an aspiration for myself in the next like 1-2 years, even if it's a short. I'd
Hmm.
love to give it a try. So yeah.
That's good. And then the first film that you started, if I'm not a mistake, is the Carton Brother, and then you were a second unit director for that one. That one was your first short film that you were part of it.
No, no. My first short film was Life Without Electric. My
Ah.
IMDb is like I don't know why I've been checking it, trying to fix. Like my thesis film is not on there, and I'm like, I was the only producer. I'm like, on. And which was Life Without Electric, which was a short film about like Chinese immigrants living in London and kind of reminiscing on life back in China. And then I did work on the Carton Brothers last summer. Yes,
Hmm.
last summer. Which I got to do in Oxford, which was lovely. I was the production manager for that, and second AD. It's kind of like it was like a bit of a hybrid role. But then kind of like my biggest kind of like short film credit, apart from The Crowd, which won the 48-hour sci-fi challenge, which was done with Ardale, was my thesis film From Beneath. It's
Mm-hmm.
gone into 2 or 3 festivals. I know it was at Hastings Rocks. It was at the British International Amateur Film Festival, like
Mm-hmm.
last weekend, and it was at something else that I completely forgot, which is really embarrassing. Um,
Yes.
and so yeah, that was my thesis film From Beneath, and that was a horror. Which, you know, it's kind of weird how much horror like pops up in my CV, even though people are like, "Oh, are you a massive horror fan?" I'm like, I don't usually watch horror films. I just keep ending up in them. And it's about like a boys camping trip that goes wrong. And so yeah, that was a massively ambitious thing for us to pull off during our final year at university. So From Beneath, it was a massively ambitious film to pull off in my like last year at uni. It had, God, what, a cast of at least 8, if not like a couple more. Like, and we shot in like Slough in UK, and we also shot in Southampton, and it was a massive crew. It was probably like 10 days of shooting, but we're really proud of the result. And so yeah, that was the biggest challenge I've ever had as a producer.
Wow.
But that's what thesis film's supposed to be. You're supposed to challenge everything you did in your degree, and I did, and I think it ended up pretty well. So
Yes,
yeah.
actually, like you said, we just started with your thesis, and then just that short film won awards, and you are moving to the using the right leg to the right direction, and then the
Mhm.
first feature film, Winnie the Pooh, and but what can I expect is that's your future. No, your present to enrich more your future, because I can see you're just this is just the beginning for so many doors, big doors just waiting for you.
Well, thank you. That's incredibly sweet of you.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know, what can I say? I'm very, you blush me, and I feel very, what can I say? Meeting you, speaking with you, and somehow, like you said, but you're British, but also in Texas, and I see my sister from Texas. What she represents me. So what can I say?
Thank you. Yeah.
And what other projects are you involved currently for this moment?
I'm currently working on, I actually have a meeting for after this, a short film that I'm working with Scott Pickup. Oh, this is something
Mm-hmm.
we're doing at Ardale, called The Visitor. I won't spoil too much of it, but it is a bit of a psychological horror thriller. And we're aiming to get BFI funding with that, if not other funding sources, because I think the script and the film have so much potential, and I've never seen anything like it before, which I know is a bit cliche, but I genuinely believe that. So that's kind of my main focus right now. So yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, and the last question I ask to all my guests, especially you, because you are a student, you're the one you can compare between the school from real life and thesis and all these things. What advice you can give to those people who wants to be in the film industry?
Yeah, find your niche. It will be, you will, the problem is like, yeah, you get offered like up to, I think, 6 different specialisms, and then within there you are taught a set of skills, and you will find that you will click with some things better than others. And there is always a position for you. You will find your role, you will find your place, or multiple, you know. You don't have to commit to one thing, and honestly, just have faith, it will work out. And so yeah, and if you don't like what you're doing, you don't have to change industries, you don't have to go get a real job, whatever those people say. You can find something else in the same industry or similar that you will love doing, and I promise you it is worth every minute of blood, sweat, and tears. So
Fantastic, so beautiful. No, thank you so
yeah.
much, Hunter. And for those people who wants to follow her on Instagram, yes, Hunter Clint. You can find it very easily in Instagram. She's the only one with her name. She's the only
Yeah.
one making all this beautiful things in the film industry. Thank you so much for being on my show, and thank you for creating wonderful, wonderful films. And looking forward for more interviews with you to do a follow up, your future films, feature films. Okay, I'm pretty sure I will see you in the big screen, not only as assistant director, as a director. And I say, as her beginning steps, she was here. So beginning step
Thank
and huge steps because Winnie the Pooh, what can I say? I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It was lovely talking to you, my fellow sister from Texas.
Absolutely, my lovely soul sister. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.